morning. It's Thursday, 4th of August 2016. This is Sylvia Shivamurthy and you're listening to the newspaper reviews on www.athavan.com. Let's now look at the paper highlights from today's newspapers. The top highlight in daily news says, Tajuddin murder. Phone calls from Presidential Secretariat under probe. Several telephone calls that originated from the phones at the Presidential Secretariat office following the murder of former rugby player Wasim Tajuddin are currently being invested by the CID, the court was informed yesterday. Another highlight says, Mother, 2 children killed at unprotected level crossing. 3 persons, a woman and a children, were killed when a train collided with a motorcycle at an unprotected railway crossing in Veragala Andagala in the Vellava police station. The accident occurred while the gatekeepers manning unprotected railway crossings were on a strike demanding a wage hike. There's another highlight which says, PM Widodo for stronger ties. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and Indonesian President Joko Widodo agreed that the Sri Lanka and Indonesia should establish a stronger relationship in keeping with current challenges and trends covering cultural, trade, political and religious fields during bilateral talks held at the Indonesian President's Meradaka Palace in Jakarta on August 3rd morning. The highlight in the middle says, Per capita liquor consumption in Sri Lanka 5 times more than Europe. Per capita consumption of liquor in Sri Lanka is 5 times higher than in Europe. Sri Lanka and Thailand is on top in South Asia in per capita consumption of liquor, National Authority on Tobacco and Alcohol Chairman Dr. Paritha Abekun said. And the highlight at the bottom says, Chief Invigilator, 2 supervisors removed. The examinations department had removed the chief invigilator and 2 other supervisors of the advanced level examination at Kandy High School Examination Hall due to their negligence. They had distributed wrong scripts to mark the answers to the students who sat for the economics paper. The students who were sitting for another question paper coming under the arts stream had also been there at the same examination hall. Let's now look at the paper highlights in Daily Mirror. The main highlight says, Emirates airliner with 300 on board crash lands in Dubai. Emirates flight from India with 300 people on board crash landed at Dubai's main airport on Wednesday, sending black smoke billowing into the air and halting all traffic at the Middle East's busiest airport. Another highlight says, Day of Tajuddin murder. Calls from top office says CID. There's another highlight which says, If they hooted, it was foolish, says MR. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa yesterday claimed that it was foolish if the joint opposition supporters hooted in front of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party headquarters during the Padayatra. The highlight in the middle says, VAT bill next week in House. The government is intending to enact the value-added tax bill next week in Parliament, subject to the Supreme Court determination, it is learnt. And the highlight at the bottom says, More changes in the LG Act. A high-level ministerial committee is to further amend the Local Authorities Election Act No. 22 of 2012 to introduce far-reaching changes to the main act, such as restricting the first past of post system to 50% from 70% and increasing the PR system to 50% from 30% as contained in the main act, a senior source of the Local Government and Provincial Councils Ministry said yesterday. And now let's move to the paper highlights in Ceylon today. The main highlight says, 8 international bids for Sri Lankan Mihin. Another highlight says, President SLFB Central Committee to meet. A special Central Committee meeting of the SLFB chaired by party leader President Maithripala Sirisena will be held this evening at the President's official residence, SLFB sources said. An SLFB-CC member told this paper some drastic decisions were on the cards at today's meeting, with stern action against some of the noted SLFB MPs who had allegedly breached the party's disciplinary code very likely. The highlight in the middle says, Lankan-Indonesian leaders seek stronger ties. Another highlight says, Prasanna wife to appear in CHC. There's another highlight which says, Minister promises school uniform grant to be increased. Minister of Education Akila Biraj Karyavasam says the amount given to students for official school uniform will be increased with effect from next year. And the highlight at the bottom says, UNP Deputy Ministers to resign. A group of UNP Deputy Ministers are planning to resign from their positions shortly as they have become disgusted with the conduct of certain ministers in the government, sources said. That's all for today's newspaper highlights, and we'll get back to you with more news tomorrow. Thank you.